Now we're going to show you this really cute pattern. It's our lion cuddling a little lamb, and it says peace on earth. So this is our Christmas variation of this design. It's got holly and a berry in the corner. It's just darling. And then you can make it non-Christmas. So we have ones that have different leaves and flowers for the corner and different sayings. So it might say be nice or something fun like that for kids. And I think you'll really enjoy this. We'll show you how it's done. Begin by making all of your dimensional pieces by putting 2 pieces of fabric right side together, thin polyester bonded batting. Xerox your pattern, put it right on top of that. Sew on your solid line, cut on your outside dashed line, turn it right, take your paper out, turn it right side out. Now some of the pieces are sewn all the way around. And go ahead and sew all the way around, then you're just going to slit one layer of fabric. Here's the little head. And turn it right side out through that hole after you remove the paper, of course. Now some of them have a little extra stuffing added to them, like the head and this little hind foot. Now on his body, I just stuffed a little bit here because that's going to be in front of the lamb. Everything else you want to kind of recede a little bit. So you've got his hind leg and the little lamb is going to go in between here. Now the lamb was just several little pieces sewn, put together. Many of them are just slit through one layer because they're sewn all the way around his little ears and his feet. Then you're going to just whip stitch him all together. Of course, he's got a little extra batting, stuffing stuffed in place, but whip stitch him together. We're going to put a little face on him. And then the bare head, this was sewn all the way around, and so was the head. When we turned it, add a little stuffing in the cheeks and stitch down the center to separate it. And little felt was whip stitched onto the inside of the ear for lining, and then the ears are whip stitched to the back of the head. The eyes are kind of interesting. You place your paper pattern on top of 2 pieces of fabric. One is white, one is the color of your lion. And then I've got a piece of folded fabric for the eyelid that's going to go in between and line up with this design line. Now I actually put 2 layers of white because I want to make sure my white being a little thinner will not show through. And then I'm going to stack this batting on top, underneath. And I'm going to sew all the way around this outside solid line. And I'm going to cut on the outside dash line, take your paper out, turn it right side out through a slit in the back. Now I've cut pieces of felt, one for the iris and one for the pupil, and I've just whip stitched with the same color thread underneath. See, here's that layer of fabric that we slid in between. It becomes the eyelid when we turn it. And then I've got his eyes ready to add. I'll put a little white French knot in there for a little sparkle on his eyes. Now we've blind stitched his little eyes in place. I put him close together because it gives him a cartoony and slanted a little bit. He looks a little sleepy, peaceful. That's what we don't want, a ferocious lion here. Now we're going to do his nose. And it's the same as the berries. You just have a circle of fabric and you do a very long running stitch, basting stitch around the outside. Stuff it really, really full, and then close it down, sew across to keep it secure. And here we've got our nose all secured, and we put the open part face down. Now I'm going to blind stitch this into place, and what I want to do when I blind stitch, come up from the back, and we've got a little thread there we need to clip, don't we? What we want to do here is not catch it right on the very edge, but catch it as the nose rounds around, kind of crowns right there, and right where it naturally hits the fabric, that's where we want to blind stitch. Now it doesn't have to be a lot of tiny stitches. This isn't going to go through the wash. and all the edges are secure. So just to make sure it's not going to pop off, just do it enough that it's going to be secure there. But see how I'm letting it crown on the edge. Okay, so I'm going to go around. I'll do the same thing with the berries on the corner. Now I've got his mane, and the directions are in the pattern, and I'm going to turn him over and whip stitch this mane. And now it's in from the edge because I clipped not quite to the fold, and I want all that covered so that it's just the rag edge. But I'm going to blind stitch that all the way around, and he is just adorable. Okay, we've cut our center block. Dimensions are in your pattern. We've marked our piece on earth, and I've outline stitched that with just embroidery. But of course, if you've got a fancy embroidery machine, you can use that. Great. And here we've made our leaves. Now I have machine basted them together to make sure their little tips stay together. And then I'm going to place that raw edge along this side, the corner sides of the center block. And then I'll add my border. And when it's sewn, these are sewn into the seam, it opens up. Now we'll see how I've got a little bit of raw edge showing at this tip. I'm going to go down and sink that leaf a little deeper into the seam. Okay, so here we would take our center block. We're going to blind stitch our lion pieces on like this. Then his hind leg goes on there. And the little lamb is going to be blind stitched between his legs. I like to have a little bit of leg showing out here. So it looks like he's hugging that lamb. And then we will blind stitch his head to the top of his body, and he is just adorable. And his tail is going to tuck in between back here and be pointing up to the piece on earth with a little rag edge for his tassel on his tail. Here's our quilt finished. This one is Christmas. We put peace on earth, and we have many other options in the pattern like be nice, that kind of thing. And here's our corners where we put 2 halves of a leaf in the seam when we put our border and our little berry. And it just turns out darling. I love the little lamb that's cuddled around. See here, he's got his dark feet because they're good contrast there. I think you'll really enjoy this quilt.